The left's violent war on Musk. ActBlue's fiery tactics. That's what the headline reads. We got 4 Tesla Cybertrucks burned up in Seattle. What else is going on? Let's get into it. Here we go. If you haven't heard this storyline, you got to check this one out. He's got a bunch of nut jobs running around the country doing crazy nut job things like burning up Teslas because that's somehow really going to show them. Look at this. It's in South Seattle.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. A Tesla Cybertruck is on fire. All right.
Those are toast.
There's a fleet of Cybertrucks right now. Unbelievable. Seattle fire on the scene.
So you got to get out the spot.
Breaking news. I'm sorry?
I got the button.
All right. You've got dozens of firefighters now putting out flames on the Cybertruck. Absolutely insane. Let's see filthy flames right underneath the Cybertruck.
Those batteries. Oh, those batteries, the gift that just keeps giving, right?
As you can see, there are several other Cybertrucks just parked here. The Soto neighborhood here in Seattle, Sunday evening. Seattle fire on the scene, trying to put out the flames on a Cybertruck. It's unclear how this all started, but again, with everything that's happening in America right now, with anti-Elon Musk hate, all the protests and incidents of vandalism, it appears to be arson.
It's if I was to want us to make it multiply to investigate for now.
Does this look like arson, sir?
We got our investigator on the way.
Is this the only vehicle that caught fire this evening?
I'm still trying to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
We've got about 4 vehicles involved.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much. All right. There you have it. Seattle fire saying there are actually several vehicles involved in this. Right now, I just arrived at the scene. It is a Cybertruck that is totally torched. SFD putting out some of the hot spots right now, but apparently there's some other vehicles that have been torched as well in this Tesla parking lot. I'm going to try to get closer right now, but I'm being advised to kind of stay back. This is private property. It looks like this.
Protests have increasingly become a tool for not merely expressing dissent, but for exerting coercive pressure upon individuals who diverge from prevailing ideological orthodoxies. The far left is losing their collective minds, and they're just going down these ridiculous protest routes. I saw one yesterday. I put it on my Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I put up a lot of just what I think are funny reactions. I just put up a little blurb. One yesterday was this absolute lunatic of a Democrat taking a big hammer and beating on a Cybertruck. He's beating on a Cybertruck because that's going to show him. Can't remember if it was a sledgehammer or not, but I mean, nothing says political action like smashing a vehicle with a hammer. I mean, it's literally just like, what are you doing? Recent organized attacks on Tesla dealerships across the nation provide a troubling illustration. I have concern. I see this as troubling. Could you imagine if the Proud Boys pulled one of these stunts? Could you imagine what the absolute outrage would be? It would be headline news. Every mainstream media would just be focused on it. What's going on? Who were the parents of this individual that allowed this to happen? Instead, you've got this happening all across the United States. Violence. That's what it is. When you light somebody's car on fire on purpose, as in arson, yeah, that's just straight up violence. That's wanton violence, isn't it? So with explicit efforts aimed at intimidating Tesla CEO Elon Musk into abandoning his leadership of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Now, How misguided are these? Do these people not understand that Elon Musk is the wealthiest man in the world? Think about that. How many Cybertrucks could he purchase for people who are losing them in these, fiery protests? Yeah, I mean, the thing is just so without logic. And you know what? When you're in downtown Seattle, when you're in downtown Portland, you realize how mentally ill these folks are that are doing these protests. And oftentimes, I mean, these things are being funded. Central to this disturbing phenomenon are 5 Democrat-affiliated non-governmental organization NGOs, troublemakers. You got troublemakers, you got Disruption Project. Oh, that sounds nice. You got Rise and Resist. Sounds almost like a bondage kinky thing, doesn't it? Rise and resist. Oh, because you're resisting. Indivisible Project. Okay, whatever. And the Democratic Socialists of America. That's who Shama Sawant was a member of when she was in Seattle City Council. Funded significantly through ActBlue, these entities have leveraged protest not merely as an act of political expression, but as strategic sabotage aimed squarely at Tesla's economic interests and Musk's personal resolve. Now, do you honestly think Elon Musk is sitting there going, oh, if they just burn up one more car, I'm going to quit. I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing at Doge. No. This just gives him all the more impetus to keep going, to hammer down on all of the waste that he's finding, because these organizations, these NGOs, they're being funded by ActBlue. I mean, that's going to end. That's going to come to an end here. And they are frightened because at all of these big protests, you see the same people, and it's because they are funded by this kind of ridiculousness through an NGO. It's your government tax dollars at work. It's your tax dollars funding this ridiculousness. The coordinated nature of these demonstrations warrants serious attention. Troublemakers and Disruption Project have overtly embraced tactics of direct confrontation. They all do, right? And they say, well, our direct confrontation, it's just carrying signs and take to the streets, F the police, no justice, no peace. The catchy ones. Tesla dealerships from coast to coast have experienced not only picketing and verbal harassment of potential customers, but also outright vandalism, violence. Incidents of shattered showroom windows, vehicles defaced with accusatory graffiti, arson, and even episodes involving gunfire into dealership windows at night. Again, could you imagine if the Proud Boys did this one time? Far left would just absolutely lose their mind. Democrats would absolutely lose their mind. Just, oh my gosh, the outrage is just, this is just, I can't believe this is happening. It's like, really? In New York City, Rise and Resist, known historically for its decentralized activism, has escalated actions into events punctuated by chaotic disruptions. Leveraging their lack of centralized accountability, they've orchestrated high-profile disturbances designed specifically for maximum media coverage. And here we are, we're talking about it, thus amplifying the perception of widespread grassroots opposition. It is not. These are paid performers. We got another one to show you here. Check this guy out.
You get paid to be out here?
Yeah.
Amazing. So some tack.
Yeah. You really are getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
Definitely. 100% I'm getting paid for this.
yeah, I get paid to be out here.
100% he's getting paid for this. So they don't even have activists that believe in the cause. Because if they did, they'd be out there for free, right? So you've got these absolute nut jobs. All right, I'm going to get paid. What's the cause today? And they come up with a new slogan, right? So that's why this all seems about the same. You've got the same people on the payroll that are taking your taxpayers' dollars and lighting Teslas on fire because they don't like what Elon Musk is doing, cutting those budgets. I have yet to have somebody tell me, now, which specific thing did Doge cut that you were opposed to? Which cause did you think was unnecessary? Which for them to cut? Which one? And you know what people end up saying? Well, yeah, it's just democracy is at stake. Democracy is at stake. And you're left with, okay, all right, okay. But hey, let's burn up some more Tesla trucks, some more Cybertrucks. I'm not a Cybertruck fan myself, but that doesn't mean I'm going to burn it up like this. I mean, honestly, that would be front page news everywhere if somebody, even on the tiny bit right of center, did this. The world would come to a grinding halt. Oh, the violence is just unbelievable. Can you believe they set that car on fire? Instead, it's like just not getting much coverage. Seattle fire officials said a late Sunday night fire that damaged 4 Tesla Cybertrucks is under investigation. This is from Associated Press. 4 Cybertrucks were parked in a Tesla lot in Seattle's International District. No one was injured, and the 4 trucks were the only property damaged. The first call came in at 11:13. Tesla's been a target of protests and vandalism in the U.S. and elsewhere. People have protested Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which has been moving to slash the size of the federal government through large-scale layoffs and firings, right? Watched a video the other day of this woman who was just absolutely bonkers, losing her mind. Could you imagine being emailed on the weekend and having to justify your job? And she was just so upset, so worked up. And I'm like, yeah, it sucks to be you. You're the federal worker. So, why don't you write in what it is that you've been doing the past week instead of complaining and with a megaphone and trying to do something that nobody's listening to. Nobody, because the end result of these people protesting has zero impact on anything. Because everybody, in fact, it probably pushes the Republican and the conservative envelope just a little bit further down the road, because people look at this stuff and go, that's not what I really want to associate with. Hey, you seem like a reasonable person. Yeah, but I'm a Democrat. Do you believe in lighting other people's property on fire? No, I don't. I abhor violence. Okay, but your party, that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Terrible. It's like, well, maybe you should go have a talk with them before they put their black outfits on and go in all black bloc. Police in Oregon last week said they're working with FBI to investigate gunshots fired at Tesla dealership. I mean, those are mostly peaceful gunshots. This was a mostly peaceful fire, wasn't it? I mean, yeah, flames leapt up. They were kind of peaceful. That shooting came a week after federal prosecutors in Denver charged a woman in connection with vandalism against a Tesla dealership in Colorado, including Molotov cocktails being thrown at vehicles and the words Nazi cars spray painted on the building. Nazi cars. That's a nice touch. So Nazi cars written by people lighting others' property on fire and vandalizing them literally because they don't agree with what they think or say. So isn't that kind of the definition of fascism? I mean, you don't like what I say? Boom. Here's my answer to you. I'm going to light your car on fire. I'm going to light 4 of them on fire. We're just going for it today. We're just going for it. Here's another one from Andy No. Love Andy No. Between the attempted bombing of the Tesla store in Loveland, Colorado, that's another one, and the firebombing and shooting of the Tesla in Salem, Oregon, both apprehended suspects are Trantifa activists. Antifa, but they're trans. I see what you did there, Andy. Justin Thomas Nelson, also known as Lucy Grace Nelson. Justin Thomas Nelson, Lucy Grace. Okay. And Adam Matthew Lansky, otherwise known as Allison Tesla. This follows a recent assassination attempt of conservative politicians in D.C. by a trans suspect named Ryan Michael English, also known as Riley. I'm Riley, and I'm here to assassinate someone. I mean, look at these people. These are stories that are out there. You got a bunch of lunatics running around. NGO exclusive. A Portland trans activist has been identified by the Department of Justice as the masked man in black who carried out 2 firebombing and shooting attacks on a Tesla store in Salem, Oregon. Adam Lansky uses the alias Allison Tesla in his activism and porn work. You know what? I would do a Google search for Adam Lansky porn, but I'm not going to. You know why? Because that's not what I'm going to do. If you want to do that, you know, on the down low and let me know what's there, I would say no go. Hard no go on that one. And here we've got a recent story from Cairo. Conservative activist Glenn Morgan, Democratic fundraising platform ActBlue is acting really shady. Oof, what are they up to? ActBlue, prominent fundraising platform for Democratic and left-leaning causes, is under federal investigation for alleged money laundering. Illegal foreign contributions, and concealing the original sources of donations. Established in 2004, ActBlue specializes in aggregating small dollar donations and distributing them to Democratic candidates and causes nationwide, including protesting and firebombing Teslas at your local dealership, and paying individuals who have no skin in the game to stand outside with a sign that says F Doge, F Elon Musk. Don't these people realize that, you know, they're having the exact opposite impact of what they think they are? I don't think they do. I don't think they're too smart. I don't think they're too bright. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Yeah, so Elon Musk and Trump are cleaning things up. They're doging their way through the budget, and you're upset about that. That tells you something, doesn't it? Tells you that maybe their NGO that bankrolls what they do, maybe that's going to get a little wacky whack, a little trim of the fat. Glenn Morgan of the We Governed explained on the John Curley Show on Cairo News Radio that ActBlue is under increased scrutiny, especially following 7 high-profile executive exits. Yeah, we got to go, guys. This isn't looking good. And allegations of suspicious transactions. The concern, of course, is that foreign countries and NGOs or government grants were illegally funneled through different organizations and then using people's names against their knowledge and address. Could that be? Absolutely. You bet. I mean, this is not that complicated to try and figure out. Somebody's been paying for all this stuff, and now we're going to figure out what that looks like. And let's put a stop to it. Let's have a stop put to it. Now, what'll happen is Soros will just fund a couple more $1 billion and they'll go straight line with that funding. You know what I mean? The whole thing is just, and then Biden, you know, gave him an award for being probably one of the worst human beings in the world, on the planet. Just the amount of people that he has funded that have let criminals go back onto the streets that shouldn't be there. Yeah, that's why I say George Soros is one of the worst individuals in the world out there, period. We, the government, looked at the data. Morgan decided to check on some of the donations made through ActBlue out of Washington State. When we started to do about 1.5 years ago is we started downloading their historical database every single day. And I have a reason for saying this. And we're going to file some complaints. So one of the things that we realized is that even the historic data, it just keeps radically changing by millions and millions of dollars multiple times a day. They've got it in a loop that changes the data so much that there is no way in hell that you're going to be able to, you know, with the data that they're putting out there, you're not going to be able to create any sense of accountability because you can't figure out what's going on. This changes so much. That is a really brilliant, actually, thing to do. If you're trying to hide a bunch of money and you don't really have anybody on your back, up until now, most of these NGOs haven't, right? They haven't had somebody just breathing down their throat saying, hey, we're going to cut off funding to this, this, and this. How do you feel about that? And these are in cases that there should be nothing happening anymore. Those campaigns should be closed out. He suspects computers, algorithms probably, and maybe AI now are just radically changing the database so that there was no way for you to kind of file a complaint. that make absolute sense? Yeah, using taxpayers' dollars. It's like using taxpayers' dollars to support NPR, National Propaganda Radio. It's like using taxpayers' dollars to support PBS, Public Broadcasting System. When I have this argument with my more liberal friends, what I'll say to them is, what if your taxpayers' dollars were going to fund Fox News? Would you appreciate that? Would you feel that that's a good use of your tax dollar? No, I wouldn't. That would be terrible. That would be horrible. Well, that's how we feel about NPR and, PBS. It's just propaganda. It's straight up propaganda. And it shouldn't be paid for with taxpayer dollars. If you want to have that kind of thing, paid for by George Soros, no issues with that. But not on a public basis. Absolute no-go on that one. And that's how you end up with a mainstream media that nobody is paying attention to. And that's how you end up with the left saying, we need our own podcasts. They've gone down that road. We got to have our own podcast. So now you've got Gavin Newsom coming up with his own podcast. What's it called again? This is Gavin Newsom, I think. One of the stories that I was reading just before I came on here to record this was Gavin Newsom secretly got donations made so he could have a bust of himself at City Hall in San Francisco. A bust of himself. I mean, if you don't have a bust of yourself, what are you even doing? There's busts of like Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Lee here in Seattle. It's a little different. Especially when, fans have, co-funded that kind of thing. But a bust of yourself. Well, anyway, let's go. I almost said, let's go Brandon Johnson. But Gavin Newsom, he wants to get elected. So he's trying to push everything he can to make himself look great, including a podcast. And that to me is one of the first things that the Democrats have probably done, that's been constructive. All of this other stuff is it's a terrible look. Nobody supports it because deep down, even pretty far left liberals and Democrats, they don't believe in lighting stuff on fire as a means to getting what they want. They don't really believe that. They just kind of cringe and go, it's like when Black Lives Matter was just lighting everything on fire. Look how well that worked out. You know what I mean? She said, well, we got $2 billion worth of damage here. And mainstream media told us that it was mostly peaceful protesters. All right. Okay. Got $5 billion worth of insured and uninsured damage, but it was mostly peaceful. All right. Okay. Yeah. Most people can see through that. Most people are smart enough to understand that what's going on right now, this reflects on the Democratic Party, the violence that you're seeing. It's nothing new. Black Lives Matter, a domestic terror organization. People have seen through that. They're like, did it really help out any black people? Oh, it didn't? You've just got, corporate global Black Lives Matter suing grassroots Black Lives Matter, and nobody really gets any of the funds to help them out? Seems about right, doesn't it? Seems about like lighting Teslas on fire because you don't like Elon Musk. And Elon Musk wasn't even elected, was he? See, he can't even do a recall. He's just out there doing his thing, doing the Lord's work. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.